I cannot wait to debate Donald Trump, in large part because I believe I would make him seem totally ridiculous. I would use humor and diffuse some of his more blatant misstatements and untruths. I am laser focused on many of the same problems that got Donald Trump elected in 2016. The fact that we blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs and many communities never recovered. The fact that we're going through the greatest economic transformation in our country's history and more Americans are being left behind. I believe that I would be the ideal candidate to beat Donald Trump in a debate. I think that the United States has a deep legacy of racism that it is constantly struggling with. And that is something that we have to accept and embrace as a country, that this is the sort of struggle that's unlikely to be resolved with any one event. It's going to be ongoing and intergenerational. I think it's a very bad pattern to fall into where the administration of a government investigates the previous administration. We've seen this pattern play out in developing countries around the world where the new president throws the former president in jail, in part because they want to eliminate a rival. It's much more of an American tradition to try and move the country forward and unify around the new president, and that would be the direction I would prefer. Well, number one, you have to have a real bond and sense of trust with your running mate, because the last thing you want is someone whose partnership you ever doubt at any point. Number two, you have to know the person can become president of the United States. So that's a very high bar. In my case, as a relative outsider, I would dearly love to have a partner who has deep relationships on Capitol Hill. Sort of the way Barack Obama, one of the first things he did was he made Joe Biden his running mate, because Joe Biden had spent decades in the Senate. And I thought that was a very positive move. I would need to do the same sort of thing. The last thing is I would prefer to have a female running mate, because in my experience, organizations run better with men and women in leadership roles at the very top. I admire Prime Minister Trudeau because I believe he's brought a different approach to politics in Canada and has expressed many of the same progressive priorities that I would champion as president. The most important thing that foreign leaders should know about me is that I want to find common ground and rebuild our historic partnerships and alliances. To me, the Trump administration will be seen as a one-term aberration, and the rest of the world will know that America is open for business to solve problems that concern everyone. We have had an alliance and relationship with Saudi Arabia for years, but it's unacceptable for an ally to dismember a journalist the way that they did James Khashoggi. So if that's the sort of behavior of an ally, we need to re-examine that relationship and let the world know that there are serious consequences for these kinds of actions. I lived in Hong Kong for a semester. I still have family there. And when I see the scenes that are taking place, it's jarring and almost incomprehensible. We have to do all we can to stand up for the rights of the people in Hong Kong, people who are protesting for self-determination and democracy, recognizing, though, that Hong Kong is in a gray area diplomatically. It's a semi-autonomous region of China, so we have to approach it with that in mind. The most urgent economic challenge facing the United States today is that we're going through the greatest economic and technological transformation in our country's history, and it is leaving millions of Americans behind. This is happening right now. We blasted away 4 million manufacturing jobs that were primarily based in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Missouri, and Iowa, all swing states that Donald Trump needed to win and did win. And now Amazon is closing 30% of our stores and malls nationwide, while being a retail clerk is the most common job throughout the country. The average retail clerk is a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $10 an hour. If you look at our workforce nationwide, the top 5 jobs are all in jeopardy of being automated away. Administrative and retail, clerical work, including call centers, food service and food preparation, trucking and transportation, manufacturing. These 5 job categories comprise almost half of the American workforce, and each of them is shrinking very quickly. By the numbers, our winner-take-all economy is already aggregating the gains in the top 1% of the country in a smaller number of companies and hands, while more and more Americans are left behind. This is the fundamental challenge that animates my campaign, and this is why I'm running for president, to solve this set of issues. I've released a plan to help get our carbon emissions down to zero in the next 30 years, which to me should have started years and decades ago. There's a proverb that says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today. We should have done this decades ago, but we have to start right now. Vaping products are clearly injuring and even killing Americans, particularly young Americans, and they've been marketed inappropriately. We need to regulate these products to a much higher degree, but I don't think we should ban them all outright. I talked to hundreds, even thousands of disaffected Trump voters around the country when I'm campaigning, and I'm thrilled that many of them have said to me, I voted for Donald Trump in 2016, it was a mistake, and now I'm supporting you. My campaign is drawing in thousands of Trump voters, independents, libertarians, and Republicans, as well as Democrats and progressives, because I'm non-ideological and people can sense I'm just about trying to improve our way of life. I think it is important to draw in Americans from every part of the political spectrum to solve the problems that face us all. The reality is that right now, self-declared independents outnumber either Democrats or Republicans by party identification. We need to think bigger about solutions that all Americans will get excited about. One of my first moves as president will be to establish measurements that actually tell us how we are doing, instead of these phantom GDP and stock market measurements that do not correspond to our families or communities. I would advance new measurements like our mental health and freedom from substance abuse, our children's success rates, our wellness and life expectancy, how clean our air and water are. We would be able to measure our progress by these standards, and we'll know whether my administration has been a success based upon whether we've made progress on our quality of life as measured by the well-being of our families and communities every day. My family is a very nerdy and risk-averse family. I'm not sure they would know how to profit from my administration, even if that was their intent.
Would you take any further steps beyond just trusting their nerdiness and risk aversion?
Sure. I would say, hey guys, don't do anything that's gonna put you in any hot water, or it's gonna be really bad for me, and you don't want that because you're very, very proud of me. Wow, what is the last book I read? An actual book and not a white paper. I read a book called Project Drawdown about ways that we can reduce carbon emissions and help get us down to zero.
I was wondering if you'd say The War on Normal People by Andrew Yang.
Nope. You asked me the most recent, and that's the most recent.
I'm a happily married man. I think my wife's a star, and I've got a big crush on her. Crushing on you, Evelyn. I have several bad habits. Who doesn't?
You want to tell us a couple of them?
Let's see. Snacks. Snacks is definitely a bad habit. Too much screen time because I'm running for president. So that's a bad habit. It also makes it much harder to lecture children about screen time if you're on a screen. Sometimes I turn the TV on to relax late at night, which studies have shown is actually not a good way to relax, but I still do it sometimes. Oh my gosh. 18-year-old me would be like, what has happened? I think he'd be really excited and proud. He'd be mainly excited and proud that I was happily married and had 2 happy, healthy kids. Because when I was 18, I think that was the main thing I was anxious about, thought that, it'd be very hard to get a date, that sort of thing. The most memorable moment of the campaign so far was meeting a veteran who tattooed my face on his calf. I'd seen it online, but then when I met him in real life, I had to see the tattoo, and then I put my face next to him. We took a photo. That was a first for me. Definitely very memorable. Never anticipated that. I voted for Barack Obama twice. I served in his administration as an ambassador of entrepreneurship. It's hard to play armchair quarterback when the entire economy was at stake, but I believe the biggest missed opportunity was in the wake of the financial crisis, when we had a fundamental choice to either recapitalize the banks or keep Americans in their homes. We chose the banks. We bailed out Wall Street to the tune of $4 trillion. And to me, there was a real missed opportunity that in some ways we have not yet recovered from.